Jacob Kraft was a clockmaker who lived in Shepherdstown. And prized possessions, as you can imagine. And especially around here, when Kraft clocks come up for sale, you can expect to spend several tens of thousands of dollars. So it's quite a gift to the museum when you stop and think about it. And this particular clock was in the McGarry family. The McGarrys lived near present-day Bardane, in the vicinity of T.A. Lowry School. That's where their farmplace was. And had connections to the Burr family. And the Burrs built what is called the oldest frame house in West Virginia, Peter Burr House out of Bardane.
What would have been the significance of having a clock like this for an agricultural family?
It was important to keep daytime. They planted by the sun, but things happened in town according to the clock. So this was like a town clock, and it was also a way of demonstrating that you've got some wealth. Now, the family lore says that they didn't spend dollars on it. Instead, they traded wheat for the purchase of the clock. But nevertheless, it was a way of saying, hey, we're a pretty well-to-do family.
Mm-hmm. And how do we keep this clock working? How does it work? Tell us a little bit about how you keep it wound.
It's an 8-day wind. So theoretically, you wind it, and the weights go up near the bonnet, and it can stay ticking for 8 days. But we wind it twice a week. We wind it when the museum opens on Tuesday, and then before I leave at the end of the week, I wind it again to make sure that it goes.
And it looks like it's got days, and then it's got seconds, and it's got all kinds of different.
It records the hour. It records the day of the week by number. And there's also phases of the moon portion to it, but that is currently inoperable. We're pretty sophisticated for a clock that's built in the second decade of the 19th century. And how it got here it's an interesting story. Spring, 10 or 15 years ago, a couple was here. We got to talking, and they mentioned that they were descendants of the McGarrys. And eventually said, we have a clock which passed down through the McGarry family. They lived in Oregon. And said, we're not sure what to do with the clock. This might be a good place for it to be. So they went back home to Oregon. They contacted us in the summer. And in October of that year, they took the clock apart, put it in the back of a GMC Jimmy, and drove it from Oregon to Jefferson County. So it's been here and running ever since.